officially my whole life, thanks to my dad and all his rental properties. So a little bit about Divvy. I have been with the Divvy program since they first came to the Cleveland market. I kind of, by a stroke of luck, had a client that was working with the program. They really liked working with me, kept working with me. So you turn an unqualified buyer into a home buyer. So it does not change your commission. It's a quick close. They buy cash, which is king right now in this market. So I've even had some people who look into using the Divvy program just because their other loans not working out, getting an offer accepted. So here's Divvy's current markets. When I started working with Divvy, they were just in like 3 of these places, I think. St. Louis and Atlanta was a couple of the earlier ones. So they are really, really popular in Atlanta. It's probably the biggest market. And I think we're the close second. Florida's new. So the Divvy home inspector up here, Jerry Minisale, actually just moved to Florida to manage from down there. And then we have Jerry Fortney, who is now managing our Cleveland market. So a little bit about how the program works. This is the Divvy journey. You refer your client, they apply, it's free. It's a good thing to know because a lot of people they've been applying around for rentals, they're used to application fees. And it is a soft credit check. So it's not gonna hurt their credit. They check their FICO score. Then you go home shopping, just like any other regular buyer. We'll get into a little bit later the specifics on the home. We say almost any home on market. There's some things that disqualify a property. So they rent while saving to buy, and they buy back the home directly from Divvy.
Is there a time frame for that?
To buy it?
Yeah.
3 years or less. Yep. They get it a little cheaper if they buy it within 18 months.
Okay.
Yep. But once they have 4% saved up from their savings, they can buy it. So I have some people that do it within a couple months. Yep. So there's 2 ways to refer your Divvy client. You'll get a link to sign up to be a Divvy agent. And then I think there's a little seminar video kind of thing you have to watch. But you either refer them through email. So you log in through your portal and you click invite. Looks a little different on the computer screen, but you just send their name and their email, and that should link to your portal and that customer is connected to you. Or you can send your unique code. So you can also just send them the link. I usually do both because I want, what if they forgot and then they just go and Google Divvy later and then they log on to the site. So do both. All right, I'm gonna slide this over. It's about a 10-minute application. It's really, really simple. They can do it on their mobile device. They can do it on the computer. This says 5 minutes, I say 10. They agree to a soft credit check, get pre-qualified, and then share some documents. So the difference between pre-qualified and fully approved with Divvy is usually documents. It's pay stubs, bank statements, similar things to getting qualified for a home loan. The qualifications are a little bit different, but they need to verify essentially that they have the funds in the bank. That's the big one. Then you go home shopping. So they're gonna work directly with you just like a regular buyer. The budget is the biggest part, guys. The budget is not gonna transfer property to property. So this is the biggest learning curve with Divvy. They can be approved for, in your portal, it might say, 120 to 130. But they use this algorithm that utilizes market rent plus equity credits. So you could have 2 homes right next to each other. They're each $120,000, but one's a 2-bedroom and one's a 4. And in that city, the market rent is different for a 2-bedroom and a 4-bedroom. So you have to make sure you run those directly in your portal so you get those rent payments. They make an all cash offer. Divvy buys cash, you get a proof of funds. That's going to be in the follow-up email. It is a strong proof of funds. It says excess of $10 million. Divvy has the cash. And once they sign the offer, the customer pays a $500 earnest deposit. So you'll initiate the offer in the Divvy portal. You'll go over the offer with them. They send 2 things to the client. It's a 2-page agreement on release and a collection of a $500 earnest deposit. If this offer doesn't get accepted, they can apply that to the next one, but they won't sign the offer until the customer pays the $500. Their final payment is due within 7 days of closing. That's where they'll take their prorated rent and their full down payment.
Do you know what the down payment is? Is it like FHA 3.5%?
It's 2%. Yep. So it's a flat 2%. I try to recommend closing the last day of the month because they'll prorate the rent otherwise. So let's say you close on the 20th, they'll pay prorated rent for the next 10 days and then it's still due on the 1st. So when you close on the last day of the month, their lease date is the 1st of the next month, and it's just a little easier on a lot of them. Some of them are comfortable with it. They need to move ASAP. But yeah, and the full 2% goes toward that 10% down payment savings. So that's just held, and it's like a forced savings account. So you rent while you save. So out of your monthly payment, 75% of it goes to rent. They're paying the company to rent the house, and 25% goes into that equity savings fund. So the rent's a little more expensive than regular rent, but it's because a quarter of it is going into a down payment savings account. Over the 3-year lease, your home savings build up to 5 to 10% of the home value. So there's another slide on this. Hopefully this doesn't get too confusing, but for better credit scores, they have lesser down payment savings. So the goal is to kind of qualify for that FHA loan sooner, like if they have a 650, and that makes the rent payment a little less. Divvy takes care of all major maintenance repairs, and they make sure the home is livable, all HOA fees and property taxes. So they are a tenant. Divvy holds the homeowner's policy. They make the big repairs. So just like normal renters, something breaks, they call Divvy. And they have a little bit more flexibility here. So they can paint, they can change cabinets, they can change floors, they can make cosmetic updates, things that you can't do in a typical rental. The rule of thumb I kind of use for that is anything that has like a permit required, with the exception of fencing, they allow that. So if you're gonna like tear a wall down, they tend to not be as flexible about that. But I've had people do it. So you get mortgage ready. Divvy offers credit counseling. They set the money down for your down payment, and you can buy your home anytime. So they do report good news as well to the credit bureaus. So when people come in with that 550 FICO score, they're doing everything they can to assist them to buy the house. All of your home savings go to your down payment, closing costs, all that good stuff. If the client chooses after 3 years to not buy the house, they can have that money back, 80% of it. Divvy takes 20% because they sell it and they use it towards commissions and that, but they can cash out. So let's say over the 3-year term, they have triplets, they weren't planning on it, or they need to move out of state, they can have that money back. And you keep in contact with that client, they've got a fresh check, maybe they want to buy another house. It's a great way to keep them. Yeah, they minus a fee to relist. So I have listed some Divvy properties as well. So when you have a good relationship with the company, top producing agent, sometimes they do have some listings that they'll throw your way. So here are the big qualifications. Minimum FICO score of 550. They use an Experian V2. So you will have some clients apply and maybe their credit karma shows something a little higher and they have questions about that. Just a note on that, we can see that they were declined or approved, but we don't have a note on that. So we need to encourage them to reach out to Divvy directly to see like what that disqualifying item was so they can work on it. 6 months of employment. Doesn't have to be the same job, doesn't have to be the same industry, like it usually does with a regular mortgage. $2,000 in the bank. That's the minimum down payment. That's gonna have like a lower budget. So the lower the Divvy approved budget is, the harder it is to find a house right now, just because we don't see a lot of $60,000 homes selling for $60,000, but they need at least $2,000. And no bankruptcy or eviction in the last 12 months. and that is a bankruptcy discharge. So if it's been discharged for 12 months, they can get approved. Depending on the chapter with a regular mortgage, typically you need a discharge for 3 to 7 years. So that's the goal. If they're discharged 12 months, they should be at 3 years by the time they're buying. And a 50% debt to income ratio. That's higher than a mortgage. Most people don't want to pay 50%, but they will approve them, 50%. A little bit of additional criteria. So this is a good thing to note because sometimes their score is great, but they miss a recent payment. Car payment's a big one. Divvy kind of feels like if you're not paying your car payment, you're probably not going to pay your house payment because that's a bigger one. So they will take a little bit of a harder look. So they can have a 700 credit score and maybe get declined for Divvy because they have had their car repoed 3 months ago. They will do a criminal background check, just like a lot of landlords will. I have had some success with clients writing Divvy. Maybe they have a criminal record, but they have like a great explanation, or I've had, their case managers and things send in letters, and sometimes they make an exception depending on that. If they have, maybe a dangerous crime conviction, something like that, they probably won't. And they will check court records. So having some kind of a record or a charge doesn't necessarily disqualify them, but they do look at it. Kind of a case by case. So these are the saving options. 1% down, 5% down payment, that's above a 650 FICO. In most cases, these people are going to be financing. Not every case though. I've had contractors, something I have a lot of people utilize Divvy for is when they're getting a divorce. A lot of people can't have property. Tammy's like, yes, me too. I've seen it, yeah. So you can't, Ohio's a spousal state. So sometimes they can't have the property in their name, even though they can qualify to buy. So they'll use Divvy until everything's finalized with that. That way they're just renting. People who are self-employed contractors, had people who own daycares, somehow they can have a lot of write-offs. 2% down above a 600, build to 5% down payment. Now the benefit of this lower down payment build is their rent is less every month. And then if you have below a 600, so that's a 550 to a 600, you have 2% down and 10% down payment build. This can be kind of confusing if you don't know it, like I do. But basically, if you have a higher credit score, your rent is less, your down payment is less. These down payments, since they save to 10%, you can put down up to 10% if you want. So sometimes clients will put down more. And the rule of thumb with that is every about $1,000 will bring that payment down about $30. So they can definitely do that. It just negates that down payment savings in their credit, and they just hold it for them. Okay, and from a customer perspective, this is again their down payment, that 2%, and it goes into the equity credits. You rent for 3 years. Here's a breakdown of that. So if you're paying $950 in rent, $250 in equity credits, your total payment monthly is $1,200. So, and that's all one. They're not paying it separately. Sometimes they ask about that. You can buy it back at any time. If you don't want to buy it after year 3, you cash out. I don't know any landlords that give you a refund, 25% of your rent. I certainly don't. So, and then you leave the home at any time and keep all of your equity minus the 2% relisting fee. So it's even a good thing to use for those clients that maybe just struggle setting funds aside, if that's a mindset thing, and they can kind of do it through Divvy. Divvy eligible homes. So these are important things to remember when you're home shopping with Divvy. So first thing I want to note, it's not exactly in order. They are not going to be assuming point of sale violations. They're not doing it. So sometimes in the winter, if something is maybe an outdoor item, concrete, something like that, that can't get done, in those rare cases, they will accept an escrow. It's usually 1.5 times the amount to 2 times the amount, but not typically. No as is. Divvy will tell you they'll do it if the house is perfect. It is never perfect, so I just say no. I've never seen a fully clean inspection with Divvy because they're a little bit picky. So no mobile or manufactured homes. This is just because it has to be fee simple. They have to own the land. So manufactured homes are titled like a vehicle. So it just doesn't qualify. We want the roof to be in good condition. The price point, $60,000 to $450,000. Of course, we want to look within what they're approved for. The HVAC less than 18 years old. We can usually kind of gauge the age on HVAC. If it is not less than 18 years old, it doesn't make the house disqualifiable, but you do have to know going in, they're going to ask for credits for those items. So if there are 100 offers on it and you know they're going to ask for a furnace credit, it might not be a good house. No mold, termite, structural issues. Sometimes they find a little bit of mold, they want it treated before the tenant moves in. No fixer uppers, it must be move-in ready and tenant code compliant. So cosmetic, if it's ugly, that's fine. But if it has mass amounts of work needed, it's probably not gonna pass inspection. Again, with the fee simple. This excludes most condos and townhomes. You can do like a row house or a cluster home if it's titled like a single family home. So there are rare townhouses that will be titled as a single family row house. Puritas Park comes to mind. Those are actually titled like homes. But in those rare cases, we do have to include the HOA fee. So if there's like an $80 a month HOA and they are approved for $12.50 a month, that $80 has to fit in there because the client's paying it. This is a typo, okay. And they will request repairs and credits after inspection. So Divvy essentially writes their own ROC verbiage. They don't write the ROC, but they'll send to you how they want it written. They'll send it to the client. They do their inspections. 99% of everything, they'll ask for a credit. The only things that they need completed before closing are something that's a health and safety issue, mold, structure, things like that. And they can be negotiable. So if they're asking for $3,000, they'll usually come down a little bit. We don't always want to tell the listing agent that unless we think the deal is going to fall apart. But if you are on the listing side of a Divvy deal, you can, I would say, you know, don't tell Divvy, encourage them to kind of counter back a little bit. Okay. The offer process is pretty similar to your typical buyer. You're going to house hunt. They're going to contact you directly. You set them up on an MLS search. I usually will note to them just a little bit about, you might have some stuff come through that's not going to work. We can't, as you guys know, like exclude things that say bank owned, or, you know, there's certain things we can't fully exclude. So they will sometimes send you things that aren't going to qualify. Divvy has their own home inspector. He'll contact you. A lot of the Divvy clients don't come to their inspections. Some do. So you work around the inspector on that one. So he'll get with you, but they don't exactly not schedule the inspection just because the tenant can't go. And regular contact close. So the tenant will do a final walkthrough. If Jerry has to check repairs, he'll do that too. Okay, a little bit about the pricing. So here in Cleveland, the minimum monthly payment is $850. So if you have someone contacting you trying to get like a $700 payment, this program's not going to be for them. I'll be fully honest with you. I have a really tough time finding $850. It's usually like right at the $60,000 mark. Yeah, it's really hard. And so I usually tell them like most of these things are going to start at $1,000 to $1,100. I've tried to get Divvy to like stop even saying $850 is possible because I've seen it like very few times, and it's usually like the outer suburbs in Akron. Like I don't even usually see it in Cleveland all that often. You guys are going to get this link, but this is how you sign up to be a Divvy partner agent if you haven't. This is my referral link. I don't get anything for it. It's the link that's provided from my portal. So you can sign up on like the regular site if you want to. So how do you market and utilize Divvy? This is the big one. So when I was like the only person working in the Divvy program, that was amazing. I was just raking in all the renters. It got to be to a point where it's honestly more than I can handle. I have thousands of people in my Divvy portal. So that's where you guys come into play. It's one of the amazing things I'm excited about being at KW Living for, because at my previous company, I was the only one doing this, and I was the only one doing this in so many of the metros where Divvy is really popular. So social media, this is the free one. I didn't pay for a single ad until I started building a team. And you know, most of those leads go for them. Facebook, you can do paid ads, buy, sell trade groups, Instagram, etc. Buy, sell trade groups are honestly like my bread and butter for Divvy. I also will post all of our listings in Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and you can advertise it as rent to own as well. You market your own listings as rent to own options. If they qualify, people will reach out. You get qualified buyers off of this. I once had a client reach out about rent to own a couple years ago. He qualified for a VA jumbo loan. He had like a 740 credit score. He had no idea. All free. Renters. Market to renters. This is partly, now I've been tapping it for a while, but it's an untapped market, you guys. People are not marketing to renters to become homeowners. So personally, I've closed a few hundred homes. I'm approaching about 50 Divvy. So about a quarter of my business is this untapped market here. Rentals are hard to find. They're becoming harder and harder to find. The prices are surging. Why not go this route if you can? And our lender partners. I have had other agents, lenders, call me because their agents don't know how to do this, but this is an amazing, amazing way to work Divvy. So here's how I do that. People call our lenders every day that can almost qualify. And then what a lot of them do is they just keep calling other lenders and then they give up. The lenders can refer those clients to us for Divvy. Let's say they need to move in 3 months and they're just not going to be credit ready. They can continue marketing to the client. Divvy doesn't have a lender partner. So if they get that client into a home, they just set the expectation that they're going to work with them to buy in X amount of months, set them up on a drip campaign, a mailer, and they can just keep that client. The lenders love it, you guys, because they're already in the house. They have everything. They've got the house, the purchase price, the down payment, it's there. And again, on the listing inventory. So utilize your Divvy eligible listings, print out flyers at open houses, door hangers, social media, whatever you guys want to do. So really easy way to do that at an open house is just print out a flyer with the payments. So just like our lenders do, and they might come to you for Divvy. Open houses are a lot of people, as you guys know, that are just starting out. And it's a good way to just get to clients that are probably ready to become homeowners, but they don't know that. So it's so easy to forget that there's so many people that just don't know how that works because we're buried in it every day. But, you know, sometimes I get a Divvy client and I say, hey, you're qualified, but you can probably buy in 3 months. How does that sound? Divvy preferred agents. So this is where you get the leads. This is where everyone wants to know what the heck I'm doing that they're not doing, that Divvy is giving me leads. So it's pretty easy to become what's a Divvy preferred agent. So you got to get 5 or more approved clients a month. So you got to get 5 people to apply and get approved a month. And then you may become eligible to receive leads. They come with a 20% referral fee at closing. It's pretty cheap. Opcity is like 35%. Zillow is a lot. We I used to spend like $1,600 a month on Zillow. It's not that anymore. But yeah, so when you get a lead from Divvy, it's a 20% referral fee at closing. These leads are generally already fully approved. They've been walked through the whole program with the rep on the phone already. Little bit of the frequently asked questions. These are just items that I get a lot of questions on. Some of them I've touched on. Can they put down more than 1 to 2%? Yes. You can put down up to 10. Can they buy the home back early? 100%, 1,000,000%. I encourage it. Within 18 months, you save a lot of money on that buyback price. The buyback price is more than Divvy bought the home for because you're kind of paying them back for some of the expenses that they went in. That's not a hard objection to fight right now because what is everyone doing? Paying $40,000 above list anyway. Can they exit the lease early, or what if they don't buy the house? So we already know if they don't buy it at the end of the 3 years, Divvy keeps 2% and they get the rest. If they exit the lease early, it kind of depends when they do it. So based on how long they've been in the house and how much they've put into equity, it's sort of situational. So if they, after a year or so or 2 years, they get a portion of the equity credits back, not the whole thing though, because they're breaking the lease. It's a lot more reasonable, actually, if I'm being honest, than breaking a typical lease. So everyone's head spinning? Okay, I'm opening it up for questions now. So throw them at me. Yes.
Thank you. This is very interesting. But my question is, like, once you get the client into the home, basically outside of just care calls to them, you're done with that, right? So anything else, they deal directly with Divvy then?
Pretty much, yeah. So sometimes, like, I'll occasionally have a client reach out to me with an issue or something, and they're trying to figure out who to call at Divvy, or maybe they'll come to you asking for a lender referral when they're ready to buy. Divvy also, I get a ton of people referring business to me because I help them with Divvy because so many agents do not help people. But yeah, so Divvy will handle the maintenance at that point. So you're, yes, done. You want to continue touching on them because they're a past client, but yeah, you're pretty much, and you get your full commission. So I know with like regular lease option contracts, like you don't get paid for years. You get your commission because they've bought the house. It's a good question. Anybody else? Yeah.
The pre-approval lasts a certain amount of time. What about Divvy? How long does it last?
Divvy is also 90 days.
Okay.
So, and it's pretty easy. Like when that is up, similar to like when you're pre-approved and they don't need everything. Again, it's the same thing with Divvy. So they just rerun their credit, get new pay stubs and new bank statements. Are there any in the chat, Kara?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
So I've been registered on Divvy for quite a while, but I've never received one of those unique codes. Where do you go to get one? I can't find it on the site anywhere.
Let me.
And by the way, as a listing agent, if someone brings me a Divvy offer, I mean, it's really good for the seller because it's basically a cash offer and it's a really easy transaction.
Yeah, and you guys, Divvy is making like market comparable offers. They are not rating low offers because they're investors. They're going above list. They're making aggressive offers right now. And that's something to keep in mind with the client too, because they're probably going to encourage the client to go over list. So if you're running those payments like at asking, might be up a little more. So this is the Divvy portal. They just made some changes in here. So if you're a Divvy agent, you haven't been in a little while, this is what it looks like. So getting that code, you're going to go to this refer, and this is where your referral codes are. So there's one for clients and there's one for agents. So when you copy, and you can change your code, I've never changed mine, but if you have, like a hashtag or something you like to use, but you just copy the code. And then alternately, if you're going to send it to them directly, you just click this invite client and you put their name and their email.
Is it still where you cannot work both sides of the deal with Divvy?
I believe so.
I haven't seen anything.
I haven't run into it. Yeah, they don't love dual agency. Yeah. I don't know why, but they don't love it. Yeah, so you can see in here like all of your like your closed, if you have clients in the offer process, where they are in the application process. So this is kind of cool because you can now like send them reminders that you didn't used to have to. I used to just email them directly, but it'll send a reminder. But yeah, you have everyone conditionally approved. You can see their last login. When you're home shopping, like if you want to update Divvy on that, you can add interactions. So I can add in here, you know, we've scheduled showings on Friday. We're in communication. That's helpful because we have a Cleveland team. So if I go showing scheduled and I list out the addresses, sometimes they just go in and send them the payments for me. Pre-qualified. You have a lot of people get pre-qualified. I've got 62. So these people, sometimes they come and go. They'll fill out an application, start looking at rentals, looking at other things. I have a full drip campaign. Our team uses KV Core. We haven't fully transitioned to Command. It just was a lot of leads for me to move over and restart eventually. But when they're pre-qualified, that's a good time to get them on a drip campaign. Remind them you can help with other things, rentals, purchasing. And then I have thousands of people that I've just sent an application. So, I mean, that's honestly, you guys, Marketplace is where I get probably the bulk of my leads. This is something I don't tell many people, but we have, I don't know, like this is within 2 days, like how many people have messaged me about it. So some of them never respond, some of them kind of come and go, but we harvest a ton of information that way. I do anyway. This is where I was going. Okay, any other questions on like the Divvy portal or anything that's not the Divvy portal?
I'm just wondering, Carly, like, would it be, I have FHA buyers who cannot win. Would it be worth them trying to go this route just so then they'd look like a cash offer that might actually get accepted?
It definitely doesn't hurt, but it is going to be, their payment's going to be higher. And their buyback price is going to be higher, which is kind of inevitable at this point. But it is a cash offer. So yeah, you can get in there. You can get a quick closing. It is an option if they want to explore it. And you can, you know, even if they're not, like when you go to calculate here, let's say, I don't know, I need an address. I'll just go with first one that comes up in the MLS. So if I'm calculating an address here, and then you can put the client name. So if you put the client name, it's going to come up with their buyback option. So if they're eligible for a lesser down payment, then it's going to come up. Okay. So here's a client that I have working with Divvy. So it's going to calculate this home, and you can play with this. So it'll come up with a recommended price, their down payment. If they're eligible for other equity savings plans, that will come up. And it's going to have their monthly budget, what they're approved for, their rent portion. So this house would cost this client $1,870 a month. What they have saved up, what they can cash out, the buyback price before 18 months and before 36 months. You can go in here. So say, you know, Divvy's recommending 141. Let's say we're going to write an offer on this for 130. You can do that. You can adjust the down payment. Say they have 5,000 they want to put down. You can do that. And this, you can actually paste this into an email to the client, or you can copy it. Do that all the time. So this is your offer initiation. So I don't want to do it because it'll initiate an offer, but you just enter the client's name and the address. And then the next screen, it will take you to a closing date. There's only like 3 things on there. You also have marketing resources in here. There's going to be a link to this in the email I send out, but they have editable marketing materials. I am also going to send you guys I'm literally an open book, so nothing that there are very few things I keep secret. So I tell people exactly what I do, how I do it. You're going to get a Google Drive link with all of my Divvy marketing materials, all of my emails, my email templates. If you want my other email templates, just ask, like, go for it. It's fine. But I have a FAQ sheet for agents that I ask them to present with, I think it's in team. I asked them to present with the offer, and it explains that someone who's gonna go in the house and love it is picking it out. So it's not like an investor coming in, so if that's a concern. I also have like a roadmap for the clients. I usually try to get them on a call, but they don't always do that. So I have a survey for them as well. A lot of you guys have my buyer survey, but I have one for rent to own. And this wants to load. I have a 2-page flyer. I have the COVID procedures in there. That's on the Divvy site too. And we've also got their offer instructions and their proof of funds. You're seeing me click this, right? It just doesn't want to.
So Carly, there really only is 2 buyback options, like pre-18 months or, up to 36. So even if they, in Megan's case, if they are FHA, they buy through Divvy and in 2 months actually go ahead and, buy it outright, it's still that pre-18 month
Yes.
price.
Yeah.
What about if the seller's requesting a longer than a 2-week period?
Oh, you can put any closing date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I usually shoot for the last day of the month, so their lease starts on the first day. But yeah, you can do anywhere from 15 days to even longer.
I did a 45-day close, just like
Yep.
almost like a normal.
Okay.
Yep. They can, I mean, if the short close is a benefit to the seller, we try to work that in. And if the buyer needs it, because sometimes people come to you with Divvy and they need to move in 6 months. And sometimes they're like, my lease is up at the end of the month. Can you help me? So you see both of those. So these marketing materials in here, you guys are going to have access to these. Some of them are branded with like my name. So, if you want me to send you that template, I can, or if you want to just kind of take it and send it to your own stuff, you can do that too. But yeah, here's the proof of funds and then the offer instructions. So they have a preferred title company. You have the proof of funds. They have standard earnest money deposit, their inspection period. They do want this says 1-year warranty. I think it's actually a 3-year warranty, but choice home for $580. They do that. Something to note too, because if someone's listed with a warranty, they still want this one because they have, hi Kathleen, they have like an affiliation with them. So, but if you've written an offer, it's not hard to write this stuff in. They have an offers team, an inspections team, an operations team. New construction, I should probably touch on that too. They won't build a house like where you go meet with a builder and have one planned out, but if it's completed, they will buy it. So when you see those like new homes come up, they will buy it. So, and then here's the customer roadmap that we have. I'll usually like print this out and give it to them. And then I think this one is fully unbranded. It's kind of a 2-page flyer I've made up. Oh, and they do require this addendum included as well. So this Divvy PSA addendum, it goes over some of their unique offer items, but it's pretty standard. And the 2 big things on here If they're adding an appraisal contingency, this hardly ever happens. I've had it happen like twice, but if they input the house into their algorithm and it is like way off, they'll want to appraise it. It's a drive-by appraisal. And this is also how they do an escalation. They'll add it in there because they will do an escalation. Any?
Is the purchase agreement that you write up, is it the purchase agreement or
Nope.
is it our standard purchase agreement?
We use our regular documents, your regular ABAs, your regular documents, disclosures. There are markets where they write their own purchase agreement. That's not legal in Ohio, so. As far as I know, they have a brokerage here as well. But yeah, so this PSA addendum, it's only like Divvy specific document, but you'll use your own stuff. Anybody else? You guys bored to tears? No, okay.
Very informative.
I know it's a lot to. Oh, what was that? Somebody on Zoom's talking. Was it Megan? She's new.
Oh, it was me. I just love it. I'm just thinking, like I said, maybe some of my FHA buyers can go this route and get a house in this crazy market.
Yeah, and that before this market turned that way, that wasn't something I generally recommended because it is more expensive. But it's also more expensive to just finance right now because you're paying so much out of pocket. So it's definitely an option if they're open to that. Yeah, 100%. And there are, I mean, I have my ways that I've shared with you guys that I market for Divvy clients. Maybe you have other things that you can find business with it too.
To piggyback off what Megan just said, I have a buyer, FHA buyer, who's just been struggling.
Yeah.
And they have a need to move. They need to be moved by August 1. And they've been outbid. They, they're very frustrated. So my last conversation with them yesterday was, I have a tool that may be able to work for you. Knowing their credit score, I know where they're going to fall with, their down payment and everything. It's going to save you a little money. You're not going to have the traditional closing costs right now. But if you're able to take on a larger payment just for a short period of time, you already have a lender.
Yeah.
It's a really simple process. So they were actually, she said they were going to talk about it today and let you know if they wanted to, go ahead and get pre-approved through Divvy so they can become a cash buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a good move to make for that reason in this market. So they'll temporarily have a higher payment, but it's better certainly than not getting a house. Yeah. Yeah, I know once you start like looking into it, the wheels really start turning and like how you can help people with it and what you can do. And it's not a scam. There's a lot of people that seek out rent to own, and there are a lot of scams out there. But this, I've had quite a few closings with them. They're pretty legitimate as far as I know. It just is a little bit more expensive. So, and it's important to stress the payment to your clients as well, because they're like, oh, this is more expensive than rent or a mortgage. Well, here's why. Those savings, and that's still your money. So. Any other questions, guys? Yeah. Did we end up sending around a sign-in sheet? Oh, okay, that's perfect. Yeah, so I'm going to be sending out an email to everyone with a link to this drive. It's going to have the offer instructions, the sign up, everything you need, and then of course my email, my cell phone number. So it's inevitable. I get calls and texts all day with Divvy questions. Like, feel free. I'll get back to you as quick as I can. I promise. Ooh. My forehead looks huge on this Zoom screen. Sorry, everybody. Oh, Cassie has a question. What happens to the house if they don't buy? Does Divvy use the same agent to sell it or someone else? That's a good question. They're not. It goes to the few agents that they use to list properties. So me sometimes, Easy Sales Team sometimes, their own brokerage sometimes. So they have like a few agents in every market that are like heavily preferred that they'll list properties with, but they don't use the same agent necessarily that they bought it with. Okay, that's the only question in there. Yeah, and if anyone wants to hang out, my team's going to be stuffing expired envelopes. So
Thank you.
thank you guys. So happy to see people in person since I came here.
Oh, where's that sign? They already did it.
Oh, Casey just listed.